See if this gentleman's home.
Hello?
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Sean.
Dude, I'm tired of this. Like, all these people who tell me that my life is at risk, they need to be making calls with me, like, now to make that happen. Like, for the last 5 months, I've been waiting for people to make time, people who told me that they recognize that my life is in danger months and months and months ago, and I'm still waiting on them to make those calls. And then they say, oh, well, I'll make those calls by myself without you, and I won't record it, and then I'll just pretend it happened, and it's driving me nuts, because literally that is how this all happened. That is how I've been screwed this entire time. My friends telling me they're going to, and they literally never do. If you can recognize that my life is at risk, and these other people can recognize that my life is at risk, why are they not making these calls literally with me? I'm overwhelmed. Like, I'm sick of this. I just got done with court with Wolnez today, and I've still got those youngins coming by and screaming the N-word. I'm sick of this. And they're still harassing Safeway, and they're still harassing the library. Meanwhile, all I'm trying to do is get help stopping it, and they're cutting me off from all of my resources. How am I going to find the time to write this shit down when I'm constantly trying to find a fucking place to live? I am overwhelmed with this abuse. I can't just keep calling people when literally not one person has made even the tiniest attempt to turn in the safety issues with the police. If I had one fucking friend to help do that in the last 7 goddamn years, none of this would have happened. I have to do it through the civil route because not one friend, despite what they promise, has ever made an attempt to turn it in. I am thankful for all the things that people are doing for me, but none of those things are helping me to turn this into the police or address the safety issues with the police. And that assault last year at the hospital, if I can't turn that in and get something done about that, it'll never be safe for me to go to that hospital. And I can't afford to go to a hospital somewhere else. I literally can't afford to move my vehicle. And these people have not stopped despite all of the witnesses. None of those witnesses come forward immediately. I'm told that I just need to ignore it, like ignoring abuse stops it. Ignoring people who rape people doesn't stop rape. Ignoring people who assault people doesn't stop assault. I need help turning in the safety issues with the police and the safety issues with the hospital, and that takes people who know me, who know I'm not schizophrenic, speaking up with me, calling the places that they expect us to call, and helping to fill out paperwork not 6 months from now, but today. And everybody starts getting into story time, and I am so overwhelmed with people's story time. It's not that I don't care about them. It's not that I don't like them. It's that their stories don't help them to understand mine. Telling me their stories completely diminishes what it is that I'm going through. Because every time I get talked over, I am that much more afraid to speak because I know I'm going to get talked over again. And then I'm talking 400 miles an hour. I don't mean to be afraid to the point that I can't function, but it's impossible for me not to be that afraid when I'm constantly having to take this. And then people want to pretend that the N-word, oh, well, if you just ignore people saying the N-word, then it'll stop. But that's not the case. Like, the judge hasn't heard a damn thing I've had to say. He hasn't even tried. With Wolnez and them youngins, obviously Wolnez has them youngins do this shit and he doesn't get in trouble. Oh, I didn't make him do it. That's the same thing that the Bollingers pulled for a whole year before Natalie was killed. It's not Natalie or Alicia's fault that people are assaulting me. They're not the ones assaulting me. Meanwhile, they're the ones that started the rumors people assault me over. They pretend that I stalked Natalie, that I threatened to kill her and her family in Virginia, and that I couldn't take no for an answer. And the thing is, through all of this, Natalie never once ever accused me of sexually assaulting her. Neither did Alicia. Meanwhile, what are these people who are assaulting me saying? They're claiming that I murdered somebody, claiming that I'm a sex offender. Am I incorrect about any of this?
What you just stated.
Yeah.
In the past, this is correct.
Do what?
In the past, this is correct.
Now I finally got you and like 2 other people helping, and like 6 others that might, and I have to count them as might help because they've said so before and haven't come through. The other thing is, like, you know, I get treated like I'm not trying because other people aren't able to keep their word, and I'm expected to understand why they can't keep their word. I'm supposed to understand when they're sick, when they can't make it, when they're being overworked, when they're not getting enough sleep. I'm overworked just walking around trying to do all this stuff that I'm expected to do, and I can't physically do that any longer. Like, I was in an assisted living place in Chapel, Nebraska before Natalie was killed, and I was in that assisted living place after Natalie was killed. Like, I am eligible for assisted living. The problem is that I literally had to break windows in assisted living in order to get the cops to do something about the abuse. Like, that's the thing, is that I went to all of my friends in Nebraska and they did the same thing as people here. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that happened. Oh, don't worry about it. Chris Kurth is just a pussy. You know, don't even worry about Chris Kurth. He's not going to do anything. And literally, he stalked me across multiple jurisdictions and brought other people to threaten my life with him. Like, now I'm having to deal with this in Tillamook. I had to deal with it in Hood River. I had to deal with it in Morrington. Like, all of these places, it's just me trying to turn it in. Lori went with me to go talk to CARE today, and the guy at CARE was the same guy that I had to talk to last time. The guy who basically just came across as a lazy-ass stoner who was there because he gets a paycheck. He didn't give a fuck about me. Meanwhile, that dude works at Safeway, too. He works on the midnight shift. Sarah came out and talked to me today about those people bullying on Safeway's reviews and all that. So she got a call from corporate and they're harassing her. And that's the thing. Like, I haven't done anything to hurt anybody. I haven't done anything to harm anybody. I'm just trying to get what I had stolen from me back. They had to literally slander my name, and that's all that slander I've been showing you. That's the slander they used to deprive me of my rights. You know, there's over 24 people recorded on my channel that have known me for at least 20 years that stated outright that I'm not schizophrenic, but not a single one of them wrote it down. Not a single one of them went in with me to explain it. Not one. So with Wolnez bringing up the Natalie thing, and with them youngins still harassing me, and with Wolnez, you know, posting up all sorts of shit, like, he can post up whatever he wants. It's all good for me. It all shows I'm telling the truth. But the thing is, I'm having to wait until February, and I'm going to have to deal with these youngins until that happens. I can't function. I can't move my vehicle. I can't afford it. When I did have the money, when I did have a running vehicle, when I had all of that going on and people were promising to help me, they never did. They never kept their words. Now that I'm out of resources and depending on them even further because I can't do any of this stuff, we're doing all of the reactive stuff. Instead of being proactive and turning in my predators, we're doing all of the defensive stuff. Meanwhile, this defensive stuff isn't stopping the abuse. Going to my friends who are supposed to help me turning it into the cops doesn't really help out much when we can't call the cops until we've done something about the safety issue with the cops that obviously they created. And that means I got to get you and Candy to help turn in situations with Lothman and with Martinez. Like they're committing a lot of felonies. I got treated at care today. Like I tried explaining to the feller that I've already been to all these places, but I had to go alone so they wouldn't do their job. And he wanted to be an asshole and pretend that because I'd already been to these places, he can't do anything because it's all the places he'd recommend, all the places he's supposed to. And see, how am I, as a disabled adult without a friend or family to help me to go through all this, how am I supposed to do that? Now with you and Candy and who else, and Lori, like that's a good start. It is. But look how long it took me to get that start since when I first got here. I mean, I've been here a year and a half. Did I talk too much?
Yeah.
Anyway, I talked to Angie, and of course I got to go talk to John too because I have no place to move my car. Like I literally moved around all. That's the problem with doing what everybody else wants. I tell them about the safety issues with my car and how old it is, and I can't afford to keep fixing it. And they say, "Well, why don't you move it here? Why don't you move it there? Why don't you move it here? Why don't you move it there?" I tell them how important it is to preserve my evidence and to take a look at it and help turn it in. And it's now I've got evidence that's all over the country. I've still got evidence in the mountains because we haven't gone back. Meanwhile, it was important to speak up about that situation in the mountains and that evidence. Meanwhile, I don't have the access to any of the stuff that we brought down from the mountains because it's all over at their place. Meanwhile, I still have the storage facility, which if we get everything out of there, I don't have to pay for it. But meanwhile, where am I going to take all of my stuff where I have access to it? And I don't anywhere. I don't have access to go through this anywhere without assistance. And nobody who assists me is speaking up about that. When I have to go to these places that they send me to turn in abuse, I have to go to those places again and try to do it again with a person there with me who's going to speak up and tell them my life is at risk. Tell them and state it outright, the things that they state to me outright. If someone can state to me outright that these cops are breaking the law, that my life is at risk, and that these people are harming me, then they can for goddamn sure write that down and tell that to Adult Protective Services with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Just, the other thing is with me being all worked up because the repeated, I'm still getting harassed even after court. And then I got to hope that it doesn't come across as me telling you that you're a horrible person because you have a family, you get sick, and, you have responsibilities of your own. It's not that at all.
So what I've been doing is like what you told me, which was documenting to an exploding good incident, the kids, documenting the timestamps.
Yes, sir. I actually put that in the comment section of the video on that one. So you can click right to it. 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 50 seconds. It's highlighted blue. I didn't know that it did that. It's highlighted blue. So if you click on it, it'll take you in that video to that part. See, the thing is, when this happens, I'm supposed to go to friends and family, and we're supposed to turn it in right away. And with the safety issues with the police not being addressed, like literally everyone sending me around in circles when I went by myself, there's a conflict of interest with literally every department here. There's a conflict of interest with the DA's office. There's a conflict of interest with Northwest Senior and Disabilities. By the way, thank you for making that call with me earlier. If do what?
No need to thank me.
Yes, sir. Anyway, we're not finding me a place to move my stuff. Meanwhile, how am I supposed to go through any of it when I'm in these conditions? And people see this. The stuff that you guys get to see me going through is the stuff that people need to speak out about. The things that they're expecting at Northwest Senior Disabilities and TFCC. These are the things that they need to hear out of somebody other than me, because like I said, they're the cops in Colorado trying to paint me as a delusional schizophrenic, who's violent. And obviously that's not the case. Like, when people are hitting me, how many people are going to say, hey, please don't assault the son of a bitch who keeps assaulting me? Like, if somebody was beating the hell out of you because you couldn't defend yourself and your friends were saying that they would take care of it violently, how many people would say, hey, don't do that, please don't?
They're my friend, and if I told them not to,
Do what?
if they're treating my friend, I told them not to do that, and they won't.
All I heard was, oh, they won't.
It's probably my fault.
All right. Sounds to me like you're trying to be quiet.
No, I'm talking pretty regular, just it's probably my fault.
Yes, sir. So I'll let you repeat what you said, maybe, I guess.
I said I told my friends not to lash out violently. They're treating my friend, they wouldn't do that.
You know that the gif of it's from Thor. It's when the Incredible Hulk says, "Big monster." That's what goes through my head when I try to tell somebody about the abuse I'm trying to stop, and they want to come up with a violent solution. It scares me when people go there, because that means that there's no stop to it in the courts. And that means that the person will be allowed to hurt me repeatedly until, well, obviously I can't stop them. I can't stop those youngins. I can't stop wolnez. All I can do is take the abuse. Somebody needs to explain to these people that I am disabled, that I did have this stuff. The stuff that I've been trying to show you is the exact stuff that the cops are trying to pretend I'm delusional for saying. You get to see the actual evidence of it, They keep wanting me to be able to sort through it. I can't. I literally can't. The first thing that these places are supposed to do is look at the conditions that I'm living in. They're also, because I'm disabled and I do get a disability check, when I'm harmed, they're supposed to take it seriously right away. They're supposed to turn it in right away, and they never did. I've got evidence from the DA's office that shows that the police have literally never turned anything into them. There was never a case number ever made in any of the dozens of assaults that I tried to turn in already. By the time wolnez and his situation came around, like, it had already been to the point where, like, I couldn't call 911 here. They weren't going to address the police safety issue, and that's been the problem since day one, is the police not doing their jobs for a homeless man. They wouldn't do their jobs for me with the Molly situation. They wouldn't do their jobs with me with the Farnsworth situation. And they haven't done anything about any of the abuse since. Anyway, I don't know if you're available to, but tomorrow I have to go in with Lori to try to do something at this homeless thing that they're having out at the fairgrounds, but I also have to try to find a place to move my vehicle. If I could try to come up with the money for insurance, then I could literally just pay the insurance and park it on the street. It's like $67 a month for insurance. The problem is I don't have $67. I've been trying to panhandle, but I get just enough for my coffee. And that allows me to go inside, warm my fingers, and at least pretend I'm a human being for a few minutes.
We'll see what we can do, okay, Sean?
Yes, sir.
So I'll be right
I, one of my phones is completely full, so it can't record anymore. So I can't use one phone to record off of the other one anymore. I do have that spare thing that you gave me. If you could help me to take the one in my phone out and hook one of the spare ones in there, that would be much appreciated. Also, I don't know if your computer will allow any of that stuff onto the computer because the stuff that I have is Windows and Android.
Yeah. MacBooks are only compatible with Apple products.
Yes, sir, unless you have a bootleg partition. And you likely do not.
Yes.
Yep. I had a friend of mine named Larry who could do that. There was also another friend of mine named Josh Hughes who's able to do that, but unfortunately they're both in Colorado. Not that I'd want them fucking with your computer. Sorry, go ahead.
You said?
I said not that I would want them fucking with your computer. Anyway, with Sarah coming and talking to me, with the evidence that you got to see earlier, the Nope account and also Wolnez account, they're still doing that. That Nope account has been harassing me for about 11 months now. And the Fred Burner / Ted Burner / Ted Turner accounts, that's been going on since at least January of 2018. I should probably let you go to bed, though. Do you have work tomorrow?
Yes, Sean.
All right, I was pretty sure you told me that already, but I wanted to make sure. I'm going to let you go to bed because, fuck, the bags under your eyes, well, you can tell when you haven't gotten enough sleep.
Yeah, yesterday I'm glad I thought I had a good amount of sleep, but yesterday I was up till like 3 a.m. going through wolnez's channel and a lot of your channel and listening to the two and
I curse a lot, don't I?
together.
Sorry.
Tonight I'm exhausted.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna let you go to sleep because I gotta go pick on John. Thank you, Nathan. I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, good night.
Good night, Sean.
See, I don't communicate well when I'm freaked out. The more it goes on, the more freaked out I am. Nobody made the cops do what they did. Nobody forced their hand. Who are having to... They don't have to. That's the thing. None of these people have to do this. The worst thing is that no matter how much work we do, we're still not heard. We're talked over, dismissed, disrespected. A lot of times I say people's names aloud on my YouTube when I don't intend to, and it's just because I'm freaking out and I'm trying to tell the story of what happened and who's involved so that, it's understood what happened. None of these people are evil. A lot of these people are pissed off because they screwed up. Some of these people understand completely that I'm not trying to be like that. And some of these people are just looking for an excuse to run away, which is understandable. There's also people that I get to see on their faces how much it affects them, how much it scares them. Nobody's threatening to kill Wolnez. But Wolnez has no problems threatening to kill me. A lot of people, when I tell them I need help turning it in, they say, oh, well, you should just beat his ass. Hell, my own brother-in-law did that. I'm like, dude, you do realize that I'm disabled now, that it doesn't matter how much Duke's Ryu ninjutsu I took. What matters is that only the dirtiest tricks will work now because I am physically fucked. Then, because I don't have the money for a real lawyer, I have to try to function through abuse to turn in my abusers while they continue to abuse me. Them youngins at Tillamook Sporting Goods parking lot. It's not just throwing stuff at my vehicle. It's not just screaming the N-word at me. It's incessant. They're pissed off that I told on them. So are the cops. They can get the fuck over it. Right? Isn't that what you tell me? Except I'm the one being assaulted, not Wolnez. I'm the one being assaulted, not Martinez. I'm the one being assaulted, not the Bollingers. I'm the one being assaulted. Me.